like, hey, we freaking appreciate you coming out here and
Yeah.
spending time with us. There's a million places to go in this city.
With excitement, allow me to introduce to you today's guest, co-owner and GM of Jinsei Motto, Andrew Choi. Andrew, are you feeling unstoppable today?
Hell yeah, brother.
Awesome, dude. So super excited to be here. Special shout out to Claudia over at Chicago Foodie. She's also behind the Back of House podcast. I did a little bit of digging, and there it feels like there's a level of scrappiness here too, of like making it come together. And I want to show that. I want to bring that to the surface. Let's get that motivational, inspirational ball rolling with a success quote or mantra. What do you got,
Yes.
Chris?
When Kobe passed away, it like affected me a ton, and I watched so many of his like interviews and just the way he spoke and the way he approached life. And one of the things he says is, it's not about the result; it's about the journey. So he said the actual prize is the journey, so you have to enjoy that.
Yeah.
And when things are tough and things like you feel like you want to give up, you realize this is actually what it's all about.
Yeah.
So-
How has that affected the way you live?
It makes me not want to look forward to the next thing so quickly and just kind of stay present. Things aren't always perfect, but that's kind of like the beauty of it, right? Like,
Yeah.
things never really get easier. You just kind of get immersed in kind of how you live your life and how you just want to carry yourself and how you want to approach your business.
What do you mean by good culture? Paint the picture of a good culture.
People
paint that
work
picture.
for each other.
People work for each other.
And when that's just kind of how it's set up, especially when I was there, like you were going to war with your brothers and sisters. You know,
Yeah.
it wasn't like, oh, you look at someone, you don't care. People really looked out for each other. And then after work, we went out, we hung out, like we spent all of our time together. And then the next day you would go into work and be like, hey, what's going on? And then you kind of do it all over again.
Yeah.
One of the things that I want for this place is to have people to walk in happy and excited to be here.
I want to make a statement. Behind every great restaurant's a great person. And you learned something very early, that maybe the problem isn't with the world, maybe I'm the problem. And I think that a lot of people need to have that self-reflection. Because if you want to be a successful restaurateur, the journey doesn't start with opening the restaurant, it starts with working on yourself. So how did you transform in this time? Like, where were you? What were the key things that you recognized were off about you before we get into like...
Yeah, I think I was just really negative, to be honest. Like, oh, like I'm good. These are problems. And like more listening to Tony Robbins, like one of the things he says too is like, if people need to behave a certain way for you to be happy, like you're never going to be happy.
Yeah.
Like you have to like really understand who you are and be true to that.
Any lessons about pop-ups that you picked up from that experience?
Do them.
Yeah.
Because it's, you just don't know who you're going to meet and what opportunities you're going to get. Like, I wouldn't look at it from a financial standpoint because I know I was at the time. But, like, looking back on it, like, I would have paid them to do it if I knew what it was going to turn out to be.
Yeah.
You know, like, we did one pop-up and then we're here. Like, that's crazy.
I would also warn people that it doesn't always work out.
It
like
doesn't.
that.
It doesn't. But you just never know who
But
you're
yeah,
going to meet,
like,
and the connections that you will gain.
Yes, I 100 full-heartedly agree that the idea behind pop-ups is to keep the bar low and just to go practice your recipes, work on your brand, work on developing you're building your list, right? Like whoever shows up to that pop-up, get an email, make sure they know about your vision and what you're trying to do. That's strictly just getting out there and start bumping up against people and putting your food in mouths.
Exactly.
You're growing your brand, but the overhead is next to nothing. You're basically paying for cost of goods that day.
That's it.
And you might be able the goal is to break even and grow the brand, right?
Exactly.
If you can be profitable, even better. But know that there's more to it than just making money.
Yeah, for sure. I think pop-ups are great, and Chicago is like so pop-up friendly too, which is awesome. Like everyone supports each other.
Yeah,
it's pretty cool.
So you'll have literally one pop-up here, and then they open the door to let you do like consistent.
Yeah, pretty much. Like we did one pop-up. Charmaine, the owner here, he was here. He had the food. I think he liked us as people too. And then Tony kind of put a little whisper in our ear. He was like, "Hey, reach out to him. Maybe we can do something together." So I emailed him, and then I was like, "Hey, do you want to talk? I think we can add some value to your restaurant. I think like we can work out a deal or something." And then
what did that look like in your eyes at this time? What did that deal look like?
It looked like a gold mine because I'm like, it's so impossible to, like, we have little to no capital, you know, to do this. Like, we were thinking like being in ghost kitchens and like doing like private events and stuff like that, which is pretty hard to do in peak COVID.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow, this opportunity is great, and they have a ton of space here. Like, Tony is fantastic dude, and he loves us. Like, why not? So it's actually kind of funny when we were approaching this business meeting, we like scrounged up the little numbers that we had, tried to make some spreadsheets, and we presented to him, and he didn't even look at it one time.
So pro forma.
Yeah, exactly. And then he was like, hey, as long as Tony feels like you can do it and you guys get along, he's like, that's all I care about.
Okay.
Like, if you think you can do this, let's do it. And I was like, okay, well, we're going to be primarily to-go focused right now anyways, so we'll give you 15% of our sales to like, let us stay in here. And he was like, fine.
Okay. So 15% of profit?
Just like of total sales.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So does that include alcohol?
No, because we don't make money off alcohol. We
Okay.
only make money off
To
of
this
food.
day.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yep.
So has that agreement, the 15% of sales, changed at all?
Yeah. The percentage of sales for him has grown.
Okay.
But it only makes sense. He literally coddled us and let us grow, because there was days where like we were putting up like $200 in sales. Like, if it was like a flat rate where we had to pay a certain amount, I don't think we would have made it. Like, he believed in us and kind of let us kind of squirm our way out of it.
Yeah.
And then
He
now
gave you your start, your platform.
exactly.
Yeah.
And then now that we're running it's a lot more fair, and I think he's making a little bit more of return on investing in us and believing in us.
We're in a brick and mortar, so that's the goal. First of all, is to get into a brick and mortar.
Yeah.
And what came with it is pretty nice. Like, this is C.H. Distillery, this is Malort, and it kind of just fell in our laps. We got very lucky with Tony being the GM here, being my neighbor at the time. So it made it a lot more appealing.
Yeah.
That's for sure.
Your vision, is that something that you're aspiring to? Is this for now, or is this where you want to be?
Absolutely.
Which part?
Everything.
Okay.
Like, running everything
Yeah.
ourselves. I mean, I talk about it with Andrew all the time. It is a scary thing because we know now we know numbers, and we know what it takes to be in this space, to be in a certain neighborhood, just our expenses.
But you were able to develop a following. Like, do you have an email list?
I think that's where Pop Menu comes in, right? For our email list. Yeah, so that's one thing to help with.
You're developing awareness, right? So you don't have to go out, and they say you should have at least 6 months to a year of operating capital, right? When you go out to when you open your first restaurant. Or you can get creative and find a win-win situation and use that opportunity to develop your brand and develop awareness. So when you do find your brick and mortar, you're not starting from scratch. You have a following. You have people that are going to support your business. And I think this is a really smart, scrappy way to do it. And that's one of the reasons why I wanted to come here, is to show people, listen, there's multiple ways to start a restaurant.
Yeah.
You don't have to go spend $500,000 or get yourself into this crazy amount of debt to get started. And that's really what I wanted to showcase today, is what you guys are doing, is getting creative, thinking outside the box, leveraging relationships, finding those win-win situations, and just starting. What's going through your mind? I see you guys kind of thinking as I'm talking.
Yeah, that's what you just said. Really hit it. That's for everybody to start a restaurant, their own brick and mortar, that's usually what it takes. And it's almost unreachable because it's so much money, and like, who's gonna throw like $500,000 at you and say, oh yeah, here, that sounds like a great idea, like, take my money and let's do it.
But in a year or two more of working out of this space, growing your following, building that showing the number that the needle's been moving, now you're not as much of a risk. You're a proven concept.
I agree. It's definitely gonna help us out more in the future, but now it's all about clean flavors. Omakase has been like booming in Chicago the past, I would say, like 5 to 7 years.
What's omakase?
It's leave it up to the chef.
Okay.
And we run a tasting menu, so we run 19 courses, and there's a lot of places popping up. They're getting Michelin stars now. They have their own sushi counters doing the exact same concept.
Yeah. Why is that better, do you think? Or is it better?
So people.
Do you think it's better?
I think it's better when it's going to be the best experience you'll get for sushi.
Why?
And again, because from the early 90s to 2000s, everybody was just eating rolls.
Yeah.
Steering away from nigiri, but now it's just like let's have the fish like be the highlight, be the star.
I have all these great mentors around me who like really try to mold me to be that person, and it's not like an overnight thing, but it's definitely something that I feel like I'm getting better at, and I will get better at. But if you're asking me one thing that how have you transformed, it's like how do you can you really take yourself out of your mind in that moment and look at the bigger picture and like speak with a calm tone and treat people with the utmost respect, because that's the only thing that's going to work.
What's in my hand right now? Explain the scenario to the.
That's the
listeners.
Malort.
Malort.
That's Chicago's darling child, essentially. It's a bitter liqueur, wormwood, like grapefruit. It's very bitter.
Yeah. And this is a part of the story because we're right next door to the Malort Distillery.
Correct.
So you're in the Malort space, right?
Yep.
And I don't want to keep your bartender hanging out here. So a little cheers. He said he would join us on a shot. We want to get the shot
Cheers,
down.
guys.
I've heard that I should brace myself for this.
That's not that bad. It's the aftertaste, and it lingers.
I got a water here.
There you go.
It's definitely different.
Yeah.
This episode brought to you by Restaurant Systems Pro.